We're on the correct score market of this match, Rennes against Cluj. We just go to the 0-0. We're not going to back it. We're going to lay it. I'm going to have to we want to try and win £50, okay? So I'm going to lay it 9.6, and we're going to get matched close to 9.4, okay? So that means any goal goes in, we win £50. If this match does finish 0-0, we're going to lose 423, okay? So, yeah, just a quick example. That is laying the 0-0. It's as simple as that. And from that point on, we're just looking for at least one goal to be scored in this match. And we didn't have to wait long in this one at all. 8 minutes on the clock, and it's just gone 1-0 to Cluj. So, yeah, there we have it. There's a £50 instant profit. We've laid the 0-0. This match can no longer finish 0-0. So we've made that £50 profit. Just want to point out the cash out amount. I mean, that's a bit of a trick that Betfair are trying to play on you there. Yeah, no need to cash this out, and you definitely don't want to be cashing this out for a loss or even a £3 profit at all. There's no need to cash out at all. They really shouldn't even offer you that in this sort of situation. But yeah, just be aware of that if you are new to the Betfair exchange. But anyway, that's it. It's as simple as that. You lay 0-0, you wait for a goal, and then once the goal is scored, that's it. You've made the money. So it's very simple, very easy, and it's why a lot of people get attracted to this sort of strategy. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in the rest of this video right now. And so you saw how simple laying the 0-0 can be, and that really is it. There's no trading in or out or anything like that, and that is partly one of the reasons why I was so reluctant to even do a video covering this subject in the first place, because this is sports trading life. We're all about the trading side of things. But I get many newbies emailing me asking me about this approach, and I see many newbies falling into the similar traps when it comes to this approach. So I thought it is best to do a video covering this subject, and we can all look at this a little bit more deeply. But this whole laying the 0-0 thing is what I call a typical newbie method. I remember when I was a newbie to this game myself, I was doing similar approaches, laying the 0-0, and not doing very well with it in the end. Yeah, I would definitely label it as being a typical newbie method. A lot of newbies, they come to the exchange, come across the correct score market, start laying 0-0, and get sucked in by how easy it seems. Since after all you have to do is avoid a 0-0. But obviously they're not taking all the other stuff into account, which can actually help you to make this profitable in the long term. Stuff such as expected value, your expected strike rate, and actually having some sort of methodical approach to it. And as you saw, you do need some pretty big liabilities in order to make some decent money with this, okay? But it is obvious to see why this is such a popular method for newbies to use initially, and it's because of this particular statistic, and it's that 8% of matches, around 8% anyway, okay, finish 0-0, finish with no goals. That means that 92% of the time, if you're just betting blindly on there being at least one goal, then 92% of the time you're going to win. So 92% of your bets are going to win. You're going to have a high strike rate, and it sounds great on paper. It's great for your confidence. You're going to have lots and lots and lots of wins. But of course, to make this profitable and actually win at this in the long term is not as easy as it can first seem. And let me explain one of the rookie mistakes that most make with this method before anything else, because there's a lot of mistakes that people make with this method. But the first rookie mistake that many make is believing that by laying instead of backing, that there's some sort of extra edge to it. And I see how this happens because people stumble across the betting exchange. They hear about laying bets instead of backing bets, and they feel like, yeah, this is the better approach. When really, when you're laying a bet, you're actually backing, but just in a different way. And let me just show you the screenshot to illustrate this. Okay, so from that earlier demo, we were laying the 0-0. I can't even remember what the price was. It was around 10, right? But what we're actually doing is just backing over 0.5 goals at 1.11. That's exactly what we were doing there. You saw it was a pretty big liability, but we were essentially just doing it the other way around. If we put that same liability to back over 0.5 goals, we would have ended up with the same profit. So it is just a bet, and you're trying to achieve the same profit whether you're laying or whether you're backing. And obviously, some people just, I mean, I don't know if they do it deliberately, but a lot of people say, yeah, it's just a £10 lay, which makes it sound low risk. But in reality, they might be risking £100 or £200 to win that £10, okay? And in reality, they're just backing a 1.10 shot. A lot of people don't think it's very cool to say that they back 1.11, but when it's a lay, all those rules seem to kind of go out of the window. So yeah, you can't try and disguise it. If you're laying at high prices, you're essentially backing short prices, and there is no magic of doing this on the exchange. You could actually do the same thing over on Bet365 or any bookmaker that offers the 0.5 goals market. A lot of people think that because it's Betfair, suddenly there's some sort of edge because maybe the prices are a little bit bigger. But remember, you're still paying the commission. And there are actually cases where if you are backing short prices on Betfair and paying the commission, you actually would get better prices maybe on Bet365 in certain situations. So again, this is where a lot of newbies start to go wrong before we even get onto the other stuff that they're going wrong with when they're doing a strategy like this, laying a 0-0. So I did want to get this out of the way firstly before we go any further and just make it clear that there's no disguising it. If you're doing a strategy like this, you're backing short priced favorites, all right? Laying high prices or whatever prices you want to lay at, that's what you're doing. You're just backing short prices, okay? So if you wouldn't do a strategy which involves backing short prices, then lay-in strategies are not really for you as well. But I mean, can it work, and can it be a profitable strategy? That's the big question. It doesn't matter what prices we're getting involved at. We want to know, can this be profitable or not? And so, can laying the 0-0 be a profitable approach? And I think everyone watching this is thinking they know the answer to this already. But what I'm going to say is actually it might surprise you, and it can be profitable. Yes, it can be profitable, and yes, you can make money with this approach. The edges are out there. It's one of my favorite sayings. There are edges out there, and it would be very silly to just immediately say, hey, nope, you can't make money laying a 0-0. It's not going to happen. It's not possible. Move on, try something else. However, there is a good chance that if you try this approach, you won't be profitable in the long term. And I would go as far as saying that 99% of people who try this approach will probably fail at it, okay? And it is due to a lot of these reasons that I'm going to get into right now. Now, it's a very simple method. I mean, after all, you just got to get in the market and you got to find one goal. And 92% of all football matches have at least one goal anyway. So you just got to try and to avoid the 8%, right? But there is other factors and many reasons why people go wrong with this type of approach. And probably the number one factor is that it's a mentally hard approach to betting on football, because that is what you're doing here, all right? This is a bet. It's not a trade or anything like that. Don't fool yourself into thinking it's a trade. You are just having a bet. Like I said earlier on, you're backing very short prices. But it's very mentally hard to sustain in the long term. Main reason, this sort of betting, is that you're going to have probably 9 winners in a row, and then your 10th bet wipes out all the previous profits and then puts you in a negative. And this depends on the type of odds you're laying at as well. You know, I'm just assuming you're laying at around 10-1 or something like that. If you're laying even higher, then you're just making itself even harder for yourself. And most people end up giving up on this sort of approach just because of that feeling that they get when they get loads and loads of wins, but then they get that loser and it wipes out, or feels like it wipes out, all of that profit. And therein lies the problem, because nobody, the vast majority who use this sort of method, they're not giving it a long enough chance to actually assess the long-term profitability of it. Because as soon as that big loss comes in, it's so mentally damaging that the vast majority will be so frustrated that they just scrap it and then go and try something else, something where you're not risking as much. And it can be mentally tough to see one loss wipe out many of your previous wins. But maybe if you stuck to it over the long term, 100 bets, 500 bets, 1,000 bets, recorded all of your results, you might actually find that although you're taking a big loss every now and then, you might actually still be in profit in the long term with it. But the majority of people, they're never going to stick with it long enough to find out, to find out for sure. And, you know, I can definitely admit I was one of those people. I tried this way back in the day. We're going back a very, very long time. When I experimented with this for a little while, and I grew frustrated because you would get many wins, but then, hey, yeah, a loser would set you back, and then I would just end up distracting myself and maybe trying another method. Who knows? I mean, these days, this sort of approach doesn't really fit with my own style, so I'm not really going to pursue it myself, but I can see why people go wrong. It is a very mentally hard way of having a bet, because once you hit those losses, you're almost too scared to carry on. And God forbid you hit, say, 2 of those losses in a row. Yeah, then it's not going to end well. So it's a very mentally hard way of betting. And like I said, it can work well in the beginning because you're going to get so many wins, and that's very good for you. But can you handle those losses? You have to ask yourself honestly before you even get involved in this sort of approach. And then this sort of situation is actually compounded by a bad staking plan. Now, I see a lot of newbies doing laying the 0-0, but then doing stuff like those £0 to £1,000 challenges that you see on social media, where they lay 0-0 and they go all in. They take all the winnings from the previous bet, put it all in on the next one, and keep doing that until you make a certain profit mark. But yeah, if you're going all in every time, it's probably the worst form of bank management possible. All right, and you're one losing bet away from losing it all and having to start again. All right, those challenges and all that sort of thing, they can be great for entertainment's sake, but no serious punter does stuff like this. All right, so yeah, take it as entertainment if you want to follow it, see someone trying to do that challenge, but if you want to be profitable in the long run, don't bother with that sort of approach. Those sorts of staking plans will not work out for you in the long term, okay? And then all of that, I mean, it already being mentally damaged as it is, or mentally hard, then a bad staking plan, and then it's all compounded by this. No concept of value. And typically newbies, if you're new to this game, when you first get involved, you probably don't know the concept of value. You probably don't even know what it is. All right. And this just makes it even harder because the simple fact is that since this is betting, all right, we are betting when we're laying the 0-0. There's no trading out or anything like that. So that means that if you're going to profit long term at this, you need to find 0-0 prices that offer you value. And that means that the markets have these prices wrong. Okay. And most newbies doing lay the 0-0, do they even think about value? Do they even think about the price being wrong? Or do they just get involved in matches where, yeah, you know, yeah, definitely fancy a goal there. Or, oh, yeah, that City, they always score. Got to get involved. Or they follow the silly statistics such as, oh, yeah, these teams have never played out a 0-0 since 1966 or something like that. And they might have only played 2 or 3 times. But yeah, if you really want to find value in this particular market, it's a lot harder than it initially seems. I'm going to get onto that very shortly in this video. But it's a combination of all of these. I mean, typical newbie gets involved, laying a 0-0. They don't realize how they're going to react when they finally hit a loser, because they're going to have so many wins. They're going to feel like they're invincible. They're going to hit that loser, and then maybe they give up. Maybe they give up and never return to it again. Then they're usually going to have a bad staking plan. That going all in every time, it's not going to work out for you. And no concept of value. This is the most important. You've got to have some sort of methodical approach to this. And you've got to feel like you are beating the markets if you're going to be getting involved in this. So, I mean, this whole approach of laying the 0-0, it doesn't suit my own personal style. So I haven't personally pursued it for too long. My personal style is actually the complete opposite, where I'm happy to wait out long losing runs and look for those big wins. But I've seen people make it work. I've seen people make it work privately, and I'm going to give you a few tips on how you might be able to make it work like they have, okay? You saw on the previous slide all the things you should avoid doing. But on this slide, you're going to see all the things you should be doing if you are interested in laying the 0-0. And maybe this could give you a head start on trying to make this sort of approach profitable, all right? Now, I'm not going to give everything away since you need to do the hard work. You need to find your own edge in the market. But if you want to start looking in the right direction, then here are some tips. And tip number 1 is filter, 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 all right? Now, this is where you're going to start to try and find value, okay? Now, instead of looking at a match and just thinking, like I said, City, they're definitely going to score. They always score. And then getting involved in there without even thinking about the price, without even thinking about whether the price is offering any sort of value. Firstly, you need to do some hard work. You need to filter through historical data to see if there is a positive expectation with what you're doing, all right? There is always, as I said, the edges are out there, and there's always going to be certain types of football matches where the goal markets can offer some value. Like I said, I'm not giving everything away here, but I've seen people make this work, and it is certain types of football matches where the goal markets over 0.5, over 1.5 can offer some value just to have a bet on. And it's your job to find those matches. The edges are out there. Go look for some historical data and dig deep with the filtering. You can filter matches by the country they're played in. That's step number 1. Because there are certain leagues, maybe leagues which have reputation for maybe being low scoring, but there's the odd high scoring match. Not every match is going to finish 0-0 in those games. So certain leagues where you're going to get a lot of low prices, but those prices can actually offer some value. Filter by the match profile, how strong the favorite is, how tight the match is. You got to dig in. I mean, this is what the professionals do. They will look at the historical data, filter, find the systems that have been profitable historically over the past few seasons, and then follow them going forward. All right, this is where all the hard work comes in. And it doesn't mean they're always going to be profitable going forwards. Eventually, markets can correct, but you can probably ride that profitable wave for long enough to make some good money. And then ideally, you're going to be always looking for these little edges and always doing your research and going from there. So filter. Look through all the data and try and find your edges, all right? One other thing as well is set a minimum and maximum price, all right? And this is probably more for the mental aspect of this. I mean, are you going to be involved in matches laying 0-0 at 50-1 when it's Barcelona at home or Man City playing at home? Would you really be comfortable for that? I mean, one loser at 50-1 means you're probably going to need 50 wins in a row to make that money back. 50 wins without another loser to make that money back and then get into the profit again. I mean, do you have the stomach and the patience for that? I know personally I couldn't do that. I definitely couldn't do that. Yeah, I mean, setting a minimum or maximum price is going to help you mentally. But again, if you filtered and looked at all the data, you should have a very good idea of what the minimum or maximum price is, all right? So your maximum lay price or your minimum backing price, just to be clear on that, okay? And when you're doing this sort of betting, you want to do flat staking. One bit of truth for you is that if your system or your edge is not profitable, then no staking plan is going to turn it into it being profitable, all right? So in the beginning, just do the flat staking, all right? If you're profitable at flat staking, then maybe you could try other more exotic staking plans, but don't do anything like going all in on every single bet. Don't do anything like that. But in the beginning, do the flat staking, see how you go with that, and then see if you're profitable. No risk recovery, nothing like that. No doubling up if you have a loser. It's not going to work at these sorts of odds. All right, so you have to keep that in mind. And then finally, you have to keep going. If you're going to take this approach, like I said, there's going to be times when you hit a big loser and you feel like giving up. If you've already got some money and you've made some profit, you're going to be tempted to just take that profit and then run for it, run with the money and just say, do you know what, maybe that was a lucky run. I'm just going to take that money and I'm going to go. But if you're going to do this, you have to dedicate some time to this and mentally prepare yourself for the big loss which is going to happen with this sort of betting approach. Keep going. Always set yourself a target of 100 bets based on the edge that you found when you've gone through historical data, and just stick to it and say, hey, I'm going to get up to at least 100 as a minimum, and then I'm going to see where I stand. All right, don't try 10, hit one loser and say, oh no, that's not for me. Keep going all the way through. So you should have a lot of food for thought from this video when it comes to laying a 0-0, and I'd love to hear your comments as well. Are you someone who's tried this approach, tried laying a 0-0 and had some of the similar frustrations that I've mentioned in this video? Or are you one of those people that's done laying a 0-0, still does it today, and you've managed to actually make it profitable? I mean, I'd love for you to share some of your secrets, that is for sure. So yeah, definitely leave me a comment. Also, if you've got any ideas, anything else you want to see me do a video on about any of these subjects, also leave that in the comment section. I read through all the comments, and all your ideas are very much appreciated. I had a few people asking for a video on this particular subject, which is why I'm here doing a little bit something different from the norm with this particular video. So leave me a comment, any sort of video you want to see, definitely just leave it down there in the comment section. And if you are new to this channel or someone who hasn't yet grabbed this is the 7 steps to football trading success free guide. Okay, so if you're interested in the concept of football trading and the concept of trading football on the exchanges, download this. It's absolutely free. The link to this is in the description. Okay, so you just click on the link, enter your email address, and it will be sent to you right away, and then you can check that out. It's absolutely free, so you can't really go wrong. Definitely check that out. All right, that is just about it. There should be some videos on the screen for you to check it out. If you like the subjects of this channel, then hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you get all the new videos as soon as they come out. And yeah, that's about it. I will see you in the next video.